8 deadly mistakes that can get you killed in America that you're not expecting right now. Hello and welcome to our Retire Early lifestyle. Most people don't wake up in the morning thinking, I'm going to get killed today. And that's precisely why we're going to share these 8 ways unsuspecting people end up dead. The times they are a-changing. Some of these things didn't used to be an issue until recently, so don't let these things sneak up on you and find you dead. Let's begin. The first mistake is one that everyone should be familiar with, and that is hanging out with the wrong birds. Hanging out with the wrong crowd can get you in a lot of trouble, even when we're really not doing anything wrong. This is especially important for the younger generation to recognize. You think you can try it just once to see what it's like, but that one time can get you hooked. Drug and alcohol addiction always start because we're hanging out with the wrong crowd. The saying is, birds of a feather flock together, but you don't have to flock with them once you know they are just trying to get you to do drugs with them. Be brave and say, no drugs for me. Seek to find better friends that share your feather, okay? It would be a huge mistake to introduce your body to drugs, because the minute you do, it may take hold of your mind, body, and soul, and you would no longer be yourself. It's like playing the lottery, except there are no winners. Some people are able to try something and then decide it's not for them and stop. Other people try something and then get hooked. There's no way of knowing in advance, for sure, who will do what, so best to say no from the get-go. Once one tries and then gets hooked on drugs, they advance closer and closer to death's door. But God loves you, your parents love you, lots of people love you, and you have a choice to love yourself and not take drugs or stop doing drugs. The smartest thing a person can do is never take that first drink or never take those first drugs. We've all seen the utter devastation that drugs do to people, and it will ruin your life completely if you don't fall off the edge first. Moving on to number 7. Riding out storms instead of evacuating. As we have all witnessed in the past decade, the storms are more intense, more severe, and far more devastating, causing numerous loss of life. Entire families lost their lives in hurricanes Helene and Milton. This should not have happened. Losing just one life to a freakish storm is one too many in our book. Some Americans want to go down with the ship, and we get that. No one wants to think it's going to happen to them, losing everything they own to a storm, and they won't leave their home. It's just pure stubbornness. However, evacuating the area before the storm hits is especially important if you have small children or an elderly parent that needs tended to in case there are weather conditions such as extensive flooding, as we have seen so many times in the past with these storms. Everything else goes to the back burner when you have children to take care of. So please evacuate yourselves. Your loved ones need you and you need them. So with the type of storms we're now seeing this day and age, leaving the area would be the best bet for everyone involved. It has been so heartbreaking to see all of the deaths from these latest storms. Every household should keep all of their important items and valuable things, such as important documents, passports, and jewelry, and things you wouldn't want to be lost, in one bin or a box in a safe spot in the house. This box, called the family box, should be ready to go, just in case you have to evacuate at the last minute. Who would have thought our lives would come down to this? Never in a million years. By the way, the National Hurricane Center is predicting several more storms the end of October and the first week of November. We think it would be a huge mistake for Americans to keep their stubborn cap on and ride out the storms. The smartest thing you can do is get your box of important documents and valuables and put them in the trunk of your car with some clothes and be off. Moving on to the next one on the list is patronizing bars and nightclubs. Now, I had frequently in the title on this one, but at the last minute I decided to take it out. The reason being is we've lived abroad for 13 years in developing countries, and in those 13 years, one of the top reasons expats or tourists become a death statistic is because they're patronizing establishments after dark. Whether that be bars and our restaurants or anything else, the fact that you're out at night seems to change the odds out of your favor for something very bad happening to you. I think it's the same thing right here at home. Bad apples carouse and frequent late-night establishments looking for potential victims. But even if you're careful, the chances of getting tangled up in a scuffle is pretty high. Of course, adults will do as they please, and that includes dangerous behavior. We're simply pointing out that it is, in fact, dangerous behavior, and there are other options, such as entertaining during the daylight hours and gathering at home with people you know, instead of being around strangers that are potentially out of their minds due to drugs and or alcohol in the late hours. This day and age, we live in a bizarre and strange world, and frequenting drinking establishments where heavy drinking is promoted is a big mistake in America or anywhere in the world. Next on our list, too trusting. This is mostly referring to being too trusting with people, institutions, and organizations. What happened in 2020? What did a lot of people do? What is happening to them now post-2020? How many of them are not with us today because they trusted in the wrong things? I do think a lot of people are awake now to all of the strange and horrific things that are happening to people around the globe, and that's good. But there is a second part to that awareness. People need to know. And in a nutshell, here it is. We've taken our eyes off what is important. What is really important to you? Have you ever asked yourself, what am I doing here? What is my mission in life? Where am I going? Waking up is a good thing, but there's more to it than that. Ask yourself, to whom or what am I putting my trust? God has a plan for all of us. We just have to believe in that plan. This trust thing is really important because where we put our trust ultimately leads our actions and our life. Moving on to number 4, flaunting economic status. This is a biggie with some Americans who have moved abroad that behave rich by flaunting their gold jewelry, high-style name-brand clothing, purses, handbags, driving expensive cars, and boasting about how much money they have. This person won't last long living abroad in developing countries, and in developed countries like Spain, Portugal, and Italy, you'll be taken to the cleaners. Here in America, it's now getting to be the same way, where you wouldn't want to brag about how much money you have and flaunt your riches. The USA is not what it used to be. Home invasions, carjacking, kidnapping, and burglaries are more likely to happen to those people who have a bad habit of flaunting their things and bragging about their finances. Exposing a high economic profile would be a big mistake this day and age. Keeping a low profile is the smartest thing you can do living in America. Next on our list is going out after dark, after 7 p.m. This one sounds similar to the previously mentioned one, except that in this case, the victim isn't necessarily doing anything they consider risky, such as drinking or going to nightclubs. They may just be out shopping or coming home late from work. However, statistics clearly show that most violent offenses such as rape, murder, and assault happen between 7 p.m. and 2 a.m. We've always said on this channel, and we'll keep saying it, going out at night ups your chances of becoming a victim of crime double-fold. Not to say that something can't happen to you at 11 a.m. in the morning, but the chances for something violent happening to you goes way up after dark. And one last thing about time of day. The best time to go out, in our opinion, is weekdays between 7 a.m. and 11 a.m. The reason is clear. The bad apples are at home sleeping off whatever they did the night before. The antagonizers, those people who love to provoke others for nothing, they're also barely waking up. Grocery stores are less crowded, fewer people means quicker and better service, less traffic on the roads, less road rage, less people out, and you can get so much done in just a few hours between 7 and 11 a.m. All right, and number 2, women alone. I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for this one, but not bringing it up just because I'm worried about what people will think would be ridiculous. Most women even say they're afraid to go jogging alone, so if they're afraid, that means they have a reason to be afraid. We used to share crime stories of solo women traveling alone. Most of those crime stories were of women who were sexually assaulted. More and more women seem to get this nutty idea to travel the world alone. These women are usually the same, as they like to publicize to the world that she's all by herself. Look at me, look what I can do all by myself. I don't need a man, I can take care of myself. Of course you can, until you can't. However, and the unfortunate aspect to these sentiments is that some of these women never return home. We've shared on this channel story after story after story, and you may be thinking, yes, but Angie, this is North America. It's different than being a woman alone abroad. And I used to think that, for the most part, but not anymore. Going abroad as a solo female traveler makes her a target because she's vulnerable, and in the U.S., a lone woman is a target because she is vulnerable. Nothing has changed. She doesn't have more physical strength because she's in America. There is just too much propaganda on this one. Solo female travel is nothing more than blatant feminism, teaching and promoting self-egotism and nutty behaviors. We live in strange and dangerous times, and the USA is not what it used to be. It would be a grave and utter mistake for a woman to go jogging, hiking, walking, or anywhere that would make her an easy target for an assault. That's just my 3 cents. And our last one on the list is children walking alone. Children walking alone to a friend's house or to school a block away is not a good idea this day and age, and clearly it is a bad idea. We need to keep our eyes constantly on our children now, even when we're right there with them, and we think we always did have to. I cannot believe the gross misinformation about this subject on the internet when I did some research. Reports are flying off the internet to please allow your children to walk to school because it provides them with freedom and independence, says some writers. Phooey! There are far safer things we can do for our children to give them independence than letting them be exposed to strangers passing by, seeing our precious little ones walking to school. Maybe you didn't know, but certain bad apples love to linger by and near elementary schools just for this reason of children walking to school. And even in groups of 3 or 4, they may not be safe unless they all walk together, keeping up with each other. Don't you know we live in strange and dangerous times now, and we feel it would be a mistake to allow your children to walk anywhere, especially by themselves. We have to do much more and spend more time making sure we stay safe and secure in a world that is not safe and secure. So, go ahead, let your children walk to school, get that exercise, but please do walk with them or behind them. And watch over them. It's a responsible parent thing to do. Better yet, quit your job and homeschool. The way schools are being manipulated by nefarious actors now, why would one want to expose their children to that? It's not the state's responsibility to teach your children. It's ours. When they get older, they can decide to attend more classes. I hope everyone takes some of these mistakes into consideration today. It may save you or a loved one's precious life. Stay safe, everyone, and be blessed. Bye-bye.